June may not be looking like the one you had last year or the one that you've been making plans for simply because of COVID-19. But here's a plot twist. If you continue to take safety actions while listening to our government, your June plans could be closer to execution than you think. Besides, we're already seeing a flattening of the COVID-19 curve. Hi, I'm Theodore Henry, and welcome to Jamaica Magazine. June is bringing several changes for us. Borders are opening, school, for some, are in session, and more people are heading back into the office. In today's magazine, we want to help you maneuver many of these things, starting right this minute.
How would you want to be treated if you were diagnosed with COVID-19? Not like this.
Them will talk how I'm wicked and if dead, and they behave like I am the one that created the virus. All my friends as well that were positive, them going through even worse than what I'm going through. Persons are calling police on them as well.
Do not allow your fear of COVID-19 to rob you of your humanity. There is no need to shun or victimize persons with the disease or those on the front line.
To mistreat persons that do have it, it's not a good feeling. We don't cause this on ourselves.
We really need to cut the hate and work together as a country, as communities to overcome.
Let us be understanding with those affected and support each other. Be kind. End the stigma.
The presence of COVID-19 still lingers on our island home, but there's continued reassurance from our government that strategies are being employed to lessen the impact. Here's the latest look at the state's response measures.
I will now give a quick BPO report based on the task force for the reopening of BPOs that the Most Honorable Prime Minister established back in April 2020. And this was to ensure that BPOs that provide essential services could do so during the temporary lockdown, and to ensure that all BPOs were successfully assessed by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and thereafter reopened using a set of guidelines that were approved by this task force. The guidelines were approved by the task force on May 14th, and thereafter provided to the health inspectors across the island who have been conducting inspections using the following instruments. Coming out of the task force, Prime Minister, we created a BPO inspection tool. This has been specially prepared in relation to the COVID-19 pandemic. It seeks to ensure that the conditions are put in place to minimize the risk of transmission in these entities. Just briefly, I'll read out for you some of the measures implemented. The work at home, the increased transportation, which means office-to-home direct drop-offs, and of course, that would include more trips. Pre-screening of employees, temperature checks, etc., on entering and leaving the building. Social distancing, 6-foot spacing or 6 feet height, plus 1 foot separation, and of course, protocols for gatherings. Sanitary and hygiene practices, which obviously hand washing, sanitizing stations, of course, regular cleaning of the carpets, environmental ventilation, fresh air intake, recommended use of cleaning materials, and of course, most importantly, the handling of sick persons, reporting, isolating, deep cleaning, and reintegration protocols. Second, Prime Minister, was a public health institutional form. This is a tool used to assess the general public health conditions existing in the facility. The facility must also be in compliance with both to remain operational. The task force successfully discharged its duties by taking the input and contribution of a number of agencies and BPO operators into consideration. That is important, Prime Minister, because it has to be a holistic approach, and if you don't have the buy-in from the BPO operators at the ownership level and the management level, then obviously it's not going to be holistic. Just to give you a breakdown, as of May 31st, 2020, the Ministry of Health's report overall summary is as follows. The number of BPO sites inspected, 91. Number of exempt, 59. Number of satisfactory, 68. Number unsatisfactory, 10. And let me just say that those are smaller BPO operators which are still working to meet the new protocols, and out of those 10, Prime Minister, it's about 1,000 workers. And last but not least, of course, based on COVID, we have 13 that were closed voluntarily. So the non-essential workers began returning to work on May 8th, 2020, and will continue during the course of the next 3 months as sites are reopened. In December 2019, we had approximately 43,000 employees in the BPO sector. By March 2020, which is just about the time we had the first case of COVID, we had 40,000. So there was a decline in that 3-month period of about 3,000. As a result of the COVID pandemic, we had 7,500 BPO workers who were laid off. And as a result of the protocols, we have been able to get 3,300 of those 7,500 back into full employment. It is expected that it will take us probably till the end of the year, Prime Minister, to be able to get back to where we were as of March. So as of right now, we have about 35,000 persons employed, and the loss of revenue during the pandemic has been about 42 million United States dollars. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can see the impact of this industry and the reasons why we had to do what we did in the interest of making sure that our Jamaicans were safe.
Motorists, when driving on the road, here are some simple reminders. Look out for and extend courtesy to all road users. Give plenty of room to pedestrians, especially in wet weather. Drive slowly. No bother wet them up. Slow down when approaching a pedestrian crossing or school, and always be prepared to stop. Remember, a school zone is a 30-kilometer zone. Cut your speed. Drivers of large and slow-moving vehicles should always keep in the far left hand of a dual carriageway. Keep it simple. Drive left and pass right. These are just simple reminders of your road duties. Drive safely.
Compared to just a couple months ago, June is witnessing more and more people on the road, more motorists and more pedestrians. But as we work to decrease COVID-19, we also want to decrease road fatalities. Here's how you can do your bit to secure lives on our roadways.
Pedestrians, it is only safe to cross this designated part of the road if you follow the road rules. Never attempt to cross before the indication is given, and do not try to beat the oncoming traffic which has the green light.
You have overhead bridges, and overhead bridges are safe areas that are provided for pedestrians to cross. What we are seeing are pedestrians dashing across dual carriageways and then leaping over concrete medians. That is a no-no. We have had persons who have lost their lives doing that. And I am now appealing to pedestrians to do the right thing and access the overhead bridges that are provided in order to save your own life.
Where there is no overhead bridge or crossing sign, use the pedestrian crossing with caution. Monitor the lights and cross when it's safe to do so. That is a dangerous practice and a 99.9% chance of this happening.
The amount of kinetic energy that comes upon your body, that is going to determine whether or not you survive.
There are several signs. Road signs are the language of the road. You have informational signs, directional signs, warning signs, and you have enforcement signs. Enforcement signs are erected upright or those that are drawn on the road surface. For example, you have stop sign, one-way sign, and it points in the direction where the one-way is. No U-turn, no parking, no right turn, no entry, a number of signs. If there's no sign that are erected upright, you will see yellow markings, painted on curb walls, that constitute no parking, and you should not park in those areas. You park where white painting is drawn on those curb walls. Those are areas where parking is permitted. You have continuous white lines that are drawn on road surface. No motorist should drive to the right of a continuous white line. There are some other signs, especially like along Knutsford Boulevard, where the dual carriageway is, but there is any elevated median. You see something looking like a zebra crossing. Those crossing depicts a median, but a median that is not elevated. If you disobey a stop sign, it carries a fine of $4,000 or 6 demerit points. If you disobey the traffic light, the red light, that too carries $4,000 a fine or 6 demerit points. On the approach of a traffic light, for example, Halfway Tree Road, Chelsea Avenue, by GIS there is no filter light. You are to obey the light, and whenever you get green, you are to proceed. These lights are so configured that they allow for a pedestrian to cross. So when that red light is on, pedestrians are crossing. So that's why a filter light is not put in. When approaching a roundabout, you are to yield to the person to the right. Right? Always allow for that person to go first. A similar thing with a yield sign, a give way sign. You are to yield to the person and allow that person to proceed. If you happen to overtake, you are to do so if the way is clear, and once you complete that maneuver, you are to get back to the left lane and remain there. We have persons anticipating the light. You have those that are anticipating the green, and even before the green comes on, they are off. And you have others who are beating the amber in order to go by as well. And I should tell you this, red means you are to stop, amber means you are to prepare to stop, and green means you are to go if the way is clear.
And remember, always wear your seatbelt.
We are children and we have rights. We have a right to be protected,
Provided for.
and included. Don't beat me up, don't belittle me, and please don't molest me. I am under 13. I should not be working for a living. That is child labor. It is illegal. Stop leaving me alone. I am too young to provide for myself. I need your guidance.
Protect our nation's children. They have rights too. To learn more about children's rights, call or visit the offices of the Child Development Agency.
Now more than ever, it is important to talk with your children about COVID-19. Well, we hope that you never really stopped talking to them. But as quite a few of them are heading back to school this month and increase their exposure, we encourage you to have those conversations with them. If you don't exactly know how to start, here's a little push.
Families across the country are adapting to the evolving changes in daily life caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. Most schools, places of public gathering, and non-essential businesses are closed, and parents and other caregivers are faced with helping families adjust to the new normal. This includes trying to keep children adequately informed during the outbreak. If you want to know how you can ensure that your children are equipped with the right amount of information they need about COVID-19, follow these next steps. The first thing you have to do is make time to talk to them. Talk to your children daily about the latest news and updates, and be sure to let them know that they can come to you if and when they have questions. When talking to children, ensure that you use words and sentences that are most suitable for their age group. This is the only way to ensure that the child receives and understands the information being shared. Let your children develop the habit of watching the news with you, but ensure that the information is credible and that information overload does not occur, because this can lead to anxiety. The outbreak of the coronavirus has brought with it numerous reports of racial discrimination around the world and general misinformation. So, it's important to check that your children are neither experiencing nor contributing to bullying. Make time to clarify all rumors and discriminatory claims. Explain to children how they can stay safe during the period. Talk to them about the importance of a balanced diet, social distancing, hand washing, sanitization, and other important safety measures. Children may inevitably become worried about all the changes happening around them due to COVID-19, but it is your duty as parents to assure them that steps are being taken every day to keep them safe. Impress upon them that rather than be worried, they should be prepared.
Water is precious. So we encourage everyone to practice the 4 R's of water conservation. Always remember to reduce your use of water wherever possible. Replace water wasting devices with water savings devices. Reuse water wherever possible. And wherever leaks are found, please repair them and repair them quickly.
Don't delay. Practice the 4 R's of water conservation today.
As we're realizing day after day, there is life after COVID-19. And that life, for many, may very well be owning your own piece of land. Well, our government is making it easier for Jamaicans to become certified landowners. Learn some more about this.
Becoming a landowner is a significant feat for most people. That feeling of entitlement and success of being able to turn your own key and say, "Welcome to my home." This could be you, and the government is doing its part through the Adjudication Services Division of the National Land Agency.
Systematic registration is defined as the process of land titling through a determined jurisdiction, and it's performed on a commune-by-commune basis. Now, what exactly does that mean? It means that it's the methodical and orderly registration of parcels of land in a designated area using the adjudication process. Adjudication is defined as the process through which existing rights in a parcel of land are finally and authoritatively ascertained. Key things to note: adjudication doesn't alter existing rights or create new ones. It merely establishes what rights exist on ground.
Now that we've established the definition of these very important terms, let's get down to the meat of the matter. You have a piece of land, or you've been living on land that you do not have the title for, but have legitimate claims. Let's find out how you can go about becoming certified landowners utilizing the National Land Agency's adjudication services.
Systematic registration may be new to Jamaica, but it's certainly not new to the world. At the National Land Agency, we have a wealth of information on unregistered land parcels in Jamaica. So currently we know that the parishes with the lowest rates of registration are Portland and St. Elizabeth. So we'll definitely be targeting those 2 parishes. The mandate of the Adjudication Services Division is to assist landowners who have been in open, undisturbed, and undisputed possession of their land for upwards of 12 years to claim ownership of their land via systematic registration using the adjudication process. There's a proposed adjudication process for systematic registration, and we have benchmarked other jurisdictions. And the adjudication process will entail the following: The first is the identification of an adjudication area, project area. The next step will look at what are the areas in those parishes where there's a lot of economic activity, or they're near town centers, probably farmlands, where these farmers will be able to benefit from having a certificate of title to use as collateral security. Once an area has been identified, a recommendation will be made to the minister to declare that area as an area for systematic registration.
Surveying will go hand in hand with the adjudication process, so you can look out for the team from the Adjudication Services Division, as they will be situated within the selected communities. These teams will be visiting households parcel by parcel, interviewing landowners and investigating whether or not they have been in open, undisturbed and undisputed possession of their land for over 12 years.
The adjudication record, it will be published in a daily newspaper, circulating not only in Jamaica but across the diaspora. So it's not only notice to community members and notice to Jamaica, but it is notice to the world that persons are claiming to be the owners of land. Now, let me start with the positive. Where there are no objections to the adjudication record, as the director, I'll be able to issue what is known as an adjudication certificate. And this adjudication certificate will be deemed to be conclusive proof of ownership. This is now the documentary proof that the person on that certificate is in fact the owner of the land. Where there are objections, however, all these objections will be referred to the adjudication committees, and adjudication committees are established in accordance with Section 9 of the Special Provisions Act to determine ownership rights in land.
Now that I've given you the basic information that you need to regularize your status as a landowner, it's now up to you to make that step. All the best.
By order, under the Disaster Risk Management Act, you must wear a mask in all public access places and in public transportation. If you wear a mask and I wear a mask, we are all safer.
So, with more people outside and the wearing of masks still mandatory until June 30, to ensure your safety, we want to provide you with some don'ts for wearing a mask. Here goes. Number 1, do not use a mask with a tear, rip, or one that is damp. Number 2, do not wear the mask only over your mouth or nose. Your mask should cover both the mouth and the nose together. Number 3, do not wear a loose mask, which could easily allow particles to enter through its corners. Number 4, and I can't stress this one enough, do not touch the front of your mask, especially if you've been in crowded areas. And our 5th and final point, do not remove your mask to talk to someone. That's the point at which wearing it is most necessary. Understand this. Masks alone cannot protect you from contracting COVID-19. So even while you wear your mask, maintain your social distance and wash your hands regularly. The goal is simple. Get to 0 cases and ultimately make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
How can we assist people who are blind and visually impaired during this novel coronavirus COVID-19 period? There are simple ways to help them navigate our streets and sidewalks, but many people are worried about social distancing. Not to worry, you can simply guide them with the sound of your voice, walking beside or in front of them. Let your voice be the helping hand you give them. For information on how to assist persons with disabilities, contact the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities at 876-926-9376 or 876-618-1133. Remember to look out for the blind and visually impaired, not only today, but every day.
There are 2 weather systems
This is going to become hurricane.
The storm right now has winds of 100.
Next service has issued a number of
There are a number of terms associated with the Atlantic hurricane season, but how many of them do you really understand? Let's talk weather.
Waters of the Atlantic remain very warm.
This is going to be a monster storm.
First, hurricanes, storms, and depressions are all types of tropical cyclones. A tropical cyclone is a system of winds with a warm core that originates over tropical or subtropical waters, for example, the Atlantic Ocean. Based on the wind speed associated with the system, cyclones are defined as follows. Tropical depression, a system which has winds moving up to 63 kilometers per hour. A tropical storm has wind speed up to 118 kilometers per hour. And a hurricane is a northern hemisphere cyclone with wind speed starting at 119 kilometers per hour. Hurricanes are rated categories 1 to 5. Relating to hurricanes, the eye is the center of the system, usually the calmest area in terms of winds. The eye wall is the area surrounding the eye and is characterized by intense winds. As soon as a significant system develops, the Met Service will take steps to inform the public. The terms that will be used include an advisory. This is any official information issued by tropical cyclone warning centers. It speaks to location, intensity, and the movement of the system, as well as any precaution that is to be taken. A tropical storm or hurricane watch is a public release from the Met Service advising that associated conditions pose a possible threat to the island within 48 hours. Tropical storm or hurricane warnings are issued when associated conditions are 36 hours or less away. Now, a flash flood watch says that flooding is possible and precautions are to be taken. A flash flood warning suggests that flooding has already been reported or will occur shortly. Those are some of the terms and definitions that you should be familiar with, especially during this season. For more information on these and other terms, you can contact the Meteorological Service of Jamaica at 876-929-3694. And remember, to be better prepared, stay in the know.
30 minutes is simply not enough time to share with you all that we need to, which is why we make ourselves available to you every day. So while today's magazine ends, there's a new package for you to enjoy and learn from tomorrow. And for your convenience, today's Jamaica Magazine and past shows can be seen on our YouTube channel. Also keep up with the JIS by visiting our website and follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter pages. Remember to keep safe and to look out for those around you. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. See you soon.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.